Hey everyone!
I did it. I finished my coffee.
Yeah!
Just in time for this horrible garbage.
That's Mel, finishing coffee, and I'm Mike. I haven't got any coffee, but I have a water, and I'm not afraid to use it.
I have one of those too. 1 unit of water.
I'm gonna really need to pee before we finish recording this.
Oh, me too.
Oh yeah, that's how I like it, because it makes the episode more frantic.
You can hear us both dancing around, just waiting for it to end.
Yeah, well, we were doing that anyway with this show, I feel like.
That's very true.
Play the opening! Mel, you have not played Maniac Mansion, correct?
I think I've maybe played it once or twice, but had no idea what I was doing and died very quickly.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's basically what Maniac Mansion is.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. It's one of those games that you need to play a million times to have even an iota of a clue what you're doing.
Yes, so Maniac Mansion is a game that's very close to my heart, but mostly because of its sequel, Day of the Tentacle, which is one of my favorite games.
I did not know Day of the Tentacle was a sequel to Maniac Mansion.
Are you just learning that now?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Day of the Tentacle.
Can you feel my world shaking?
Day of the Tentacle is Maniac Mansion 2.
Wow.
And in my opinion, is a lot better than Maniac Mansion, but I know a lot of adventure game purists would draw and quarter me for that opinion. But Day of the Tentacle was one of my first CD PC games. I got it in a double pack with the original Sam & Max game.
That's so precious.
Yeah, it was. It might have been the first thing I owned for PC. It was either that or Virtual Springfield. I think came first. I'm not sure.
I bought Day of the Tentacle on Steam because of your recommendation and never played it.
Oh, you should. It's great.
It's one of those games that's high up on my list, but then I keep buying more.
Yeah, I had that problem too. But you should play it to take the taste of this show out of your mouth.
That's a great idea.
See the real Dr. Fred.
I'm convinced it's the reason I didn't sleep last night.
So Maniac Mansion was made by Lucasfilm Games. That's what they were known as at the time. They later changed their name to LucasArts, which is how they're best known now. And it was their first self-published project. They'd done a few things before it, but this was the first one they published themselves. With that Star Wars money.
Now that we've made it big on Star Wars, let's make a game about a crazy mansion.
I wonder how many people now are even aware of the fact that Lucasfilm had a video games division.
Probably not that many.
No,
just the hardcore nerds like us.
People really just know Lucasfilm for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, I feel like. But I know them for their adventure games.
I was just talking about them recently with my dad, I think. And I looked up the games they'd made, and I honestly could not remember all of the non-Star Wars classics they made.
Yeah, really big name game. I feel like people know the games. Like, people know Monkey Island, people know Grim Fandango, but they don't realize that it's the same company that made Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah, and also they made the first Sam & Max game because Steve Purcell, the creator of Sam & Max, was just working there as a staff member. And I believe he had made, in testing for their engine, he had made sprites of Sam & Max just to use for testing. And then eventually they were just like, why don't we just make a game of Sam & Max?
We're halfway there. We've got all these sprites.
Yeah. And they also made Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
I have played that one. Kevin has sat me down and made me play it.
Yes.
And it's madness.
I love that game. It's on Switch now, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, with online multiplayer, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, don't tell Kevin. He's going to make me play that until I die.
Well, I might as well, so.
Oh, no.
Maniac Mansion came out in 1987 for the Commodore 64 originally.
The Commodore 64.
Yep. And then it was ported to most PC platforms and the NES, but the NES one is heavily censored.
Censored how? Is there full frontal nudity?
No, there's a lot though. I don't remember all of the examples of censorship, but I know there's a lot that was taken out. Let me have a look. Yeah, a lot of it's like silly things.
Like censoring the onigiri and making it into a donut?
Not quite that silly. But for example, the line, "The meteor is going to be pissed," was changed to "The meteor is going to be mad." They had to remove any use of the word kill.
That's silly.
That is silly. They had to remove a bit of graffiti in the bathroom that says, "For a good time, call Edna."
What child is going to understand what that means? Who are they censoring that from?
I know. There's a lot of stuff like that. I think I'm not sure if they removed the ability to microwave the hamster. I think they did.
That's the one thing that I would hope that they censored.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff like that. They just removed a lot of little things. If you have played the NES version and you think you've played Maniac Mansion, you haven't played Maniac Mansion.
Okay, I've played the NES version.
Okay, we've got to get you on the PC version so you can see the silliness of it.
If it makes you feel any better, my opinion is not that tainted because I didn't live long enough to see it.
The game was created by Ron Gilbert, who is best known for Monkey Island, probably. But he also founded Humongous Entertainment, the company.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, those are the people behind Putt Putt and Freddy Fish and Pajama
All
Sam.
of our friends.
And then more recently, he made The Cave, which I really loved. He made that at Double Fine, and it was published by Sega.
I played that, but I forgot to beat it.
It's real good. You choose, similar to Maniac Mansion, you choose one of a few characters, and then which characters you chose determine how you can beat the game.
Yeah.
And he also made Thimbleweed Park, which I have been meaning to play for a long time, but haven't gotten around to yet. Sorry, Ron. And it was also co-created by Gary Winnick. Worked on Zack McCracken, Monkey Island, Day of the Tentacle, Thimbleweed Park, and he made a comic in 2014 called Bad Dreams, which I haven't read.
Interesting.
But it's probably good, because he worked on Maniac Mansion and all those other good things.
And probably watching the live-action version gave him bad dreams to draw inspiration from.
Oh... The game is a comedic point-and-click adventure game based on horror and B-movie tropes.
I'm a fan of both of those things.
It's notable for having much rarer deaths and dead ends than most adventure games did at the time.
Then why did I die so much?
I don't know. I was wondering that myself. Because I actually looked into it earlier, and it is pretty hard to die in the game.
Maybe I'm not. No, I'm sure I'm thinking of the right game. I don't know.
Because for most of the deaths, you get quite a lot of warning.
Yep, that sounds like something I'd walk right into.
There's a couple deaths where you have to kind of go out of your way. Like, you can get killed by Ed if you microwave his hamster and then show him the remains.
Ew.
Yeah. And you can get killed by a green tentacle if you play tentacle mating sounds near him.
Tentacle mating sound.
Yeah. But yeah, I was reading an interview, I guess, with the developers, and they actually talked about how in one of the Sierra adventure games, you could die trying to pick up shards of a mirror that were just sitting on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And they refer to that as sadistic. Because, like, if you see shards of a mirror on the ground, you want to pick them up. But doing that kills you.
Yes. Or you just put a bunch of broken glass in your pocket so that hopefully it becomes important later in the story.
That's pretty much what adventure games are about, isn't it?
That's very true.
Stealing as much as you can in case you need it later.
I'm not very experienced in adventure games, but I guess the whole point is to just put everything in your pocket.
Yes, absolutely. At the time, back in the early 90s, I guess, late 80s, early 90s, among PC gamers, it was like the Nintendo Sega thing. You know how on the playground everybody picked a side?
Yes, I'm well aware of that. The console wars that are still raging to this day.
Yeah, many deaths. I abstained from the console wars back in the day. I had Nintendo and Sega, and I liked both of them. I did not abstain from the PC adventure game wars. Back in those days, you were either a Sierra fan or you were a LucasArts fan, and I was firmly in the LucasArts camp. I'd have a lot of respect for what Sierra did now, but I looked at their games and their games were very boring to me just to look at. You got like your King's Quest and your Space Quest and did they do Police Quest? I think they did. I can't remember.
King of Space Quest.
A lot of quests.
That sounds like a hentai game.
And I realize now, Space Quest at least was actually very funny. But I didn't realize that. And King's Quest was not very funny. King's Quest is kind of boring and dull, and it's fantasy. And I just don't care for fantasy anyway that much. Especially not when it's serious. You gotta give me a Discworld if you want me to care about fantasy.
I remember King's Quest looking very dull and dry and boring.
Yeah, and then over on the LucasArts side, we had Monkey Island, and we had Sam and Max, and we had Day of the Tentacle, and it was all fun, silly, funny games where you couldn't die.
Yes, you could! Yes, you could!
You could in Maniac Mansion. Maniac Mansion's like the last LucasArts game where you could die, I think.
And then they beat death?
Yes, they tried really hard to completely eliminate no-win scenarios from this game, apparently. But they missed a bunch because they had one tester.
One overworked tester in a room with 18 monitors.
Yeah. But for the later games, I think beginning with Monkey Island, they completely got rid of no-win scenarios, and you just... I think the only way you can die in Monkey Island is through a joke. There's a part where you're thrown into the water tied to a weight, and if you wait for 10 minutes without doing anything, you drown. But that's a joke because earlier Guybrush had introduced himself as a man who can hold his breath for 10 minutes. So this game is notable for the creation of the Scum engine.
The Scum engine?
The Scum engine. SCUMM, which stands for Script Creation Utility for Maniac Mansion.
Was it later repurposed for things that weren't Maniac Mansion?
Yes, it was actually used for every LucasArts game up until Grim Fandango when they switched to a new engine because Scum couldn't do 3D, I guess.
So they're doing is lying to us.
Yeah, it's not for Maniac Mansion at all anymore. But it was still called the Scum Engine. It was always called the Scum Engine. And after LucasArts stopped using it, they actually continued using it at Humongous Entertainment. So Pajama Sam and the Putt Putt games are all built on the Scum Engine too.
All built on scum.
I think it's in the credits.
Dirty underbelly of scum in the Putt Putt universe.
It's also notable for being the first game ever to use the term cutscene.
That's where the word came from?
Yep, Maniac Mansion invented the cutscene. There were other games before it that had things that you could call cutscenes, but Maniac Mansion was the first to call them a cutscene.
They coined the term.
They sure did.
Wild.
According to... Okay, there's a quote here from someone who is very notable, was very notable at the time, but who is known mainly now for being a homophobic asshole.
Oh no.
But Orson Scott Card, at the time a respected writer, probably best known for writing Ender's Game, called Maniac Mansion a step towards computer games becoming a valid storytelling art.
You're telling me that the original Mario was not valid storytelling?
Well,
you
the
jumped
manual.
On the school bus. You saved the princess.
The manual was valid. What was the first Mario game to have a whole narrative going on?
Mario is missing.
I know you were joking, but you might be right.
Oh, I put a modicum of thought into it. Don't you worry.
Because all the others, like, they have a beginning and an end, and then that's it. Mario's Missing might be the first one that actually had, like, plot in the middle, too.
I love that for it.
Well, it's Luigi's first starring role, technically. People like to talk about Luigi's Mansion, but no, Mario is Missing came like 10 years earlier.
That's because we're collectively trying to forget about Mario is Missing.
I can never. I didn't play it at the time. We never rented it. We always saw it at the rental place, but I never grabbed it, and I should have. I actually like Mario is Missing.
I've only ever watched gameplay footage. I wasn't sold on the idea.
It sucks. But it's like, if you're gonna play an edutainment game, it's not a bad one of those.
What about Mario typing or whatever that one was?
It's better than Mario Teaches Typing, for sure. Of all the edutainment Mario games, Mario is Missing is by far the best one. And I might go as far as to say that it's the best edutainment software I've ever played. Possibly.
Wow. I hope that they put that endorsement when they re-upload it to the Switch.
They're never going to put it... Can you imagine if they put Mario is Missing on the Switch before Mario RPG? Can you imagine how upset people will be?
They're gonna get upset no matter what. At least make it something funny to get upset over.
That's true. I mean, every time a new Super Nintendo game goes up there, people are mad it's not Mario RPG. I remember when Jelly Boy went up.
Oh my god. I had never heard of Jelly Boy, but when I was on that thing, the storefront or whatever, looking for something to play, Kevin's like, oh, Jelly Boy? I was like, you know what this is?
I've still never heard of Jelly Boy, even after this conversation. But yeah, what, did he play it as a child?
Yes.
Oh, no wonder he's like that.
He has played some weird games as a child where he's like, you need to play this. I'm like, I've never even heard of that. What are you talking about?
Oh, man. I need to have a discussion with Kevin about the weird games he knows.
You should, so I can stop listening to them.
Because you know how much I love finding out about weird, shitty games.
Yeah.
Anyway, For anybody who hasn't played it, I know we've touched a little bit on some of the premise of Maniac Mansion, but I'm going to give a little rundown of what the game is about. I feel like we don't usually do this, but also we don't usually watch a show that's this far removed from the source material.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
In the game, you play as a teen boy named Dave, and then you choose 2 of his friends from a selection of 6 kids who will accompany him in breaking into the Edison mansion to rescue his girlfriend, whose name, I think her name is Sandy. I didn't write that down.
That's such a girlfriend name.
It sure is. The Edison family consists of Dr. Fred, who is possessed by an evil meteorite, his wife Edna, who is a sex-starved nurse.
Oh no.
And their son Weird Ed, a paramilitary lunatic. Oh, and also dead cousin Ted, a mummy.
Okay. So he's like Dead Tom from Muppet Treasure Island.
Yes. He's exactly like that. Dead Tom as opposed to real Dead Tom.
Well,
oh no, wait,
Tom,
no. Oh yeah, that's
Tom.
right. I'm thinking of Old Tom and real Old Tom.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
And then Dead Tom.
And then Dead Tom. Cut this part.
You Muppet Treasure Island casual.
I'm a fake Muppet Treasure Island fan. Dr. Fred in the game is a bald, elderly man with an adult son. Just so you know.
I needed to know that because the information I was handed was not that.
Dr. Fred is the only character who appears in both, and he's very different in the show.
Yes, he is.
He's a what is he? Probably in his like 40s.
Yeah.
He has
early
hair.
40s.
He is not possessed by an evil meteorite.
Are we talking about this now? Because I need to talk about this now.
Well, wait. Let me just give a little background on how this show came about.
Okay.
So while they were working on the game, 2 animators at Lucasfilm pitched the idea to George Lucas himself of making the show, of making the game into a show. The way they pitched it was as a dark comedy in the vein of Addams Family or Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. That's
yes.
like the vibe the game has. You could do that. You could make it set after the game where the family are back to normal, but normal is still weird. George Lucas liked the idea and he passed it on to Atlantis Films. I tried to look up who Atlantis Films are. They're one of these companies that's been through so many mergers that you can't identify what was them anymore and what's a different company that was merged into them.
The original pieces are no longer big enough to see with your eyes.
Yeah, they've been merged like 5 times and then shut down, so they don't exist anymore.
So they were cut into tiny pieces and then just atomized.
Yeah, but then now they're back under a different name, but also it's a different company with a different name. So, like, how are they back? I don't understand.
No one does.
But anyway, Atlantis Films had the concept that George Lucas had passed them, and then they handed it on to Eugene Levy.
When I saw his name in the credits...
Yes, so Eugene Levy is somebody who I know who he is, but I'm not sure why I know who he is.
I feel like he was in a lot of stuff back in like the 90s. And these days he is known for being in Schitt's Creek.
Yes, he's known
writing
for
and starring
co-creating it with his son, yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew that. And I also know him from American Pie. I think those are like the 2 things that he's best well known for in the US.
Probably.
But in Canada, at the time, he was known as a regular cast member of SCTV, Second City Television, which from what I can tell was the Canadian equivalent to Saturday Night Live.
I had a feeling.
So they handed him this concept, and he tossed that concept out and made this.
Why? Why did you do this to us, Eugene Levy?
Eugene Levy? What's going on?
I enjoy your work on Schitt's Creek, but I'll never forgive you.
I'm a big fan of your eyebrows.
There's some good eyebrows.
And he did the voiceover for this one CDI golf game. For everybody who doesn't know what the CDI is, you'll know it from the Zelda CDI games. Everyone knows what the Zelda CDI games are. Yes, there's a CDI game called The Wacky World of Miniature Golf. I recommend watching the Game Grumps play it. It's very funny because it's a very bad game and they lose their minds. But Eugene Levy provided all the voiceover for it.
Wearing a helmet on this hole is mandatory, and not just because of the bikes. You could get hit with a golf ball.
He is the narrator for your descent into madness.
Oh, the full title of the game is The Wacky World of Miniature Golf with Eugene Levy. So
that's something I would be proud to stick my name on.
Oh. So the show first aired on September 14th, 1990 on YTV in Canada, because it was made in Canada, in case it wasn't clear.
Of course it was.
In the US, it aired on the Family Channel, which I'd never heard of. It turns out I'd never heard of it because it's now called Freeform.
I don't even know what that is, but I also haven't had cable in like a decade.
Good. Are you ready for the hardest hit that you're going to receive tonight?
Ugh, just get it out of the way.
This show ran for 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And it has 65 episodes.
Why?
Three seasons of this. Can you believe it?
I cannot. I don't want to live in a world where this has 3 seasons.
Also, this show was in production before the game came out. I'll back that up with some evidence later.
Okay.
But it didn't start until 3 years after the game released.
That's weird.
It took them 3 years to do this?
They really had to psych themselves up before they put it on the air.
Yeah. All right.
But also the cutting edge special effects for making a man fly. That probably took a decade.
Yeah, what, do they put him in a suit? Film him from the neck up? Why'd they put him in the suit? I don't know what you're
talking about. I couldn't distinguish that from real life.
This episode, the first episode, by the way, the first episode ever, is called the 10th Anniversary Special.
It was a real choice they went for.
Also, by the way, I mentioned this to you last night when I realized it. When I chose this episode for us to watch today, it had not occurred to me, one, that this was going to be our 10th episode. So, happy 10th episode, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us.
10th anniversary!
And second, I didn't know that the first episode of this was a 10th anniversary special.
Because why would it be?
So this is our 10th anniversary special too.
Watch as we inflict pain on ourselves.
This show was written by John Hemphill, who I will talk about later because he also plays the Fly Uncle.
Oh no.
Along with David Flaherty. Now, I don't know who David Flaherty is. I spent so long trying to find him. But he has the same last name as the guy who plays Fred, so I'm thinking it's either a pseudonym for him, or it's his brother or something, I don't know.
I think he disappeared off the face of the earth to outrun the sin that he committed.
Possibly. And the third writer, because it took 3 people to write this, is Eugene Levy himself.
Oh, 3 people.
3 people wrote this.
3 people inflicted grievous mental harm on us.
Okay. Well, here's the opening. If you're listening to this show, you already heard it a while back. What a choice, huh?
I could not believe when the song started. I had no idea what I was in for. The choice of genre.
Yeah, like, it's a weird enough choice of genre for this show anyway, because I'm assuming you don't know what there's only one song in the game, and I'm assuming you don't know what it sounds like, huh?
Mm-mm.
Let me send it to you.
Look at these cool dudes. Yeah, that's what I expect for Maniac Mansion.
Yeah, that's the vibe of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when this show starts up, and you get this, what is it? It's like country.
I don't really know how to best classify the genre, but it's not it.
No, I don't. The weirdest thing about it is that it doesn't make sense for this franchise, but also it doesn't even make sense with its own lyrics. Because this lady starts singing Maniac Mansion, and you're like, what is the vibe here?
I honestly thought at first that they had just kind of picked some stock song to use as the theme, but then she starts singing Maniac Mansion. I was like, what am I listening to?
Yeah, where's the sense? Make it make sense, Mel.
Make it stop hurting.
Oh. During the theme song, it just pans over family photos, which at one point abruptly just change into color. They're black and white to begin with, and then they just flick into color like they always were.
Yeah. So, on the subject of the family photos, it opens on a newspaper clipping that says famed science Lewis L. Edison discovers meteorite under mansion. So, like,
Yes.
the meteorite exists, but it has
Yes.
nothing to do with anything.
No, I've thought that was so weird. In the game, the meteorite isn't found under the mansion. It lands nearby 2 years prior to the events. And then I guess Fred takes it in and studies it. But this is implying that, yeah, some ancestor of Fred, looking at the photo, I would assume like at least 2 generations ago,
Right.
found the meteorite under the mansion.
And apparently there were no repercussions.
No, unless that's what caused this show to be produced.
Was there a meteorite under the mansion of Eugene Levy?
Eugene, did you do this? Are you being controlled by a meteorite? Is that why you were in so many American Pie movies?
Well, you know what we have to do now? We're gonna have to assemble a gang of misfits, select 3 of us, and go in and stop him.
I thought that American Pie had ended a long time ago. But I looked it up earlier today, and the newest movie came out in 2020.
Why?
There are like 10 of them, and Eugene Levy is in all but the newest one.
He's got that Schitt's Creek money now.
Yeah, he doesn't need American Pie anymore. You know what? I take back what I said. Good for you, Eugene Levy. I don't remember what I said.
Escaping that bear trap.
Yeah, he got out of the pie. So the show opens in a lab, right? It just kind of pans across a bunch of lab equipment.
Yeah,
And
we
then,
hear a bunch of snoring.
Yeah, and Fred seems to be snoring in... It looks like he's sleeping in the deep end of a drained pool. Did you notice that?
I did not.
Yeah, behind him. So he's in his lab, but within his lab, he's sitting in a lowered area within the lab, and it's tiled. And on the wall behind him, it says Deep End.
That would be a pool, yes.
Yeah, so it looks like his desk is down in the drained part of a pool. And that might be a carryover from the game, although it's completely wrong if it is. Because in the game, you can drain the pool in the backyard. But if you leave the pool drained for too long, the mansion will explode, killing everyone. Because the pool is being used as a coolant for the radiation, for the nuclear generator or whatever it is that he's using.
Gotcha.
But obviously that's not what's happening here, because the pool is always drained and he's sitting in it.
Well, we don't know that. Maybe it explodes in season 3.
Maybe it does. Just took 3 years.
They were too busy having flashback episodes.
I was wondering if maybe this plot was that while they were digging the pool, he found the meteorite. But then if it was his ancestor who found it, then that doesn't make any sense.
No.
But there is, we see more of this drained pool later, and there is a hole at the shallow end of it that's been dug down into the earth.
I'm going to be real honest with you. I didn't notice a lot of the backdrop because I was so bewildered by what was happening in front of it.
I'll bring it up when we get to it again.
Okay.
So we enter Fred's dream, which is where most of the rest of the episode takes place, although I didn't take that in until I watched it a second time.
I didn't take that in until the end, no. Because it's not exactly clear.
No. Well, he's just snoring and then he goes away and I forgot all about it.
Yeah, because immediately after that, it has him and his wife staring at each other in a dark room,
dark void,
talking about their 10th anniversary.
Yeah. And by the way, there is make no mistake, they're not talking about the 10th anniversary of their marriage.
Oh, no.
No, they are talking about being on the air for 10 years. They make that very clear.
Maniac Mansion. Our 10th anniversary special.
10 years. Hard to believe, huh?
Yeah, who would have thought when we did our very first show that we'd still be on the air 10 years later?
Also,
they do a lot of fourth wall breaks.
They're very optimistic, assuming that they're going to be on the air for 10 years.
Yeah. They made it 3, which is a lot more than I thought.
She says that they're very lucky to have been on the air 10 years, and then I guess they make a joke of it because she clearly doesn't agree, but he's like...
Well, with me, it's not so much luck as talent. Talent and an overpowering charisma that appeals to the masses.
Yeah, right.
I can already tell that neither of those are there.
Fred is played by Joe Flaherty, who I think it's possible that David Flaherty is either an alter ego of his or a family member of his who did the writing. But he is the idea of
an alter ego.
Well, it happens sometimes to avoid unions and stuff and guilds. I think it's more about guilds, but there are a lot of rules in show business about who can and can't do certain things. It's why in Back to the Future, when Michael J. Fox performs Johnny Be Good near the end of the movie, he actually did perform that, but what we hear isn't his performance because they weren't legally allowed to use his performance. They had to use one by a musicians guild member or something like that.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. So it could be that he is allowed to be an actor but not a writer, so he uses a pseudonym. It happens a lot. You see a lot of... It's like the first Metal Gear, only one of the actors uses their real name and the rest all use stage names to avoid whatever. I don't know.
I like to think it's a lot more cinematic than that, and he's just actually living an alter ego that is a writer.
He puts on a pair of glasses and now he's David.
Some Groucho glasses.
And everybody knows, but they all go along with it because he it's not worth the tantrum he'll throw if you.
They want to support his hobby.
Anyway, Joe Flaherty is another SCTV cast member. I think a lot of the cast of this show basically are. I think basically Eugene Levy just brought all his friends from SCTV in for this. He was known for his impressions, which we see a lot of in this.
Oh yeah, they really ham-fisted that in.
Yeah, I assume it's because people who knew who he was from SCTV would be wanting to see his impressions.
That's the whole reason I tuned into Maniac Mansion.
He's made a bunch of appearances on different comedy shows, but the thing in his filmography that really stood out to me was Back to the Future 2, in which he plays the man from the end of the movie who shows up while Marty's standing in the rain, and he's like,
I've got something for you. A letter.
An iconic role, though.
You know the guy?
I know the guy.
Yeah, Western Union Man, his name is.
Wow.
Yeah, he's also reprised that role in many other places, mostly as parodies of it.
He's really milking that one role for all it's worth.
This definitely his most recurring role, yeah.
That's his claim to fame.
I mean, I guess so. That's the one thing he's done that we've both seen.
That's not true. We've seen Maniac Mansion.
Well, I'm not gonna tell people that outside this show. If someone asks me on the street if I've seen the Maniac Mansion TV series, I'm gonna deny all knowledge of this.
No, I'm gonna treat it like a fish story. It's gonna get bigger and wilder over time.
My episode of Maniac Mansion was 15 hours long.
And it was during a hurricane.
And then we got Casey, his wife. Casey Edison, played by Deborah Thika. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced, but that's how I'm pronouncing it. I looked her up on Wikipedia, and it had the unfortunate sentence, she is best known for her role in Maniac Mansion.
Oh no!
But she also played a character called Madame Poughkeepsie in Alf for like 13 episodes.
Okay.
Remember Alf?
I remember Alf. I never watched it, but I'm familiar.
I watched it, but only when I was too young to still remember that.
When you were still young enough to be traumatized by the fact that he eats cats?
No, I didn't remember that. I did find that out when I looked him up, though. I mostly remember Alf because I had a friend who had an Alf plushie that was, like, way too close to the real thing.
Did it come alive at night?
I hope not. But I can neither confirm nor deny. But she's had a lot of small roles in a lot of different shows as well. She was in Desperate Housewives. She was in Kids in the Hall. I've heard of those.
I've heard of one of those.
Kids in the Hall was another Canadian sketch comedy show.
Gotcha.
Anyway. So they have this setup where they're discussing their 10 years on the air.
Yes.
Casey says that when the show started, Ike was still a baby, Tina was 5. The uncle and aunt characters weren't recurring characters yet.
Can we talk about the fact that the children's name are Ike, Tina, and Turner?
Yes, I didn't notice that until I was listing them as I was like studying the cast.
I noticed it right away,
Well,
and I could not believe my ears.
I noticed Tina and Turner. Is Ike part of that same pun? Well, it's not even a pun, is it? It's just her name.
It's a musical group, Ike and Tina Turner.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're a married couple.
Oh, okay. I know Tina Turner. I didn't know Ike, I guess.
I know it because of Arrested Development, where Lucille orders an Ike and Tina tuna.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've heard of Tina Turner. I know who she is. but I didn't know about her husband, I guess. Sorry, Ike.
Might be Ike.
I didn't understand this setup. I didn't understand the need for it.
I didn't understand the need for this episode. Why would you start your show with a clip show?
Yeah, a fake... Well, it's not even a clip show, really. They show one clip.
They showed 2.
Do they show 2?
Yeah.
You're right,
There's
they do show 2. Okay, alright. Well, we'll get to it. I forgot about one of them because nothing happens.
There was no point. There was no point at all. It didn't serve to talk about anything in the show.
No. But anyway, Tina shows up and she's lit on a balcony like we're watching an art house play suddenly. That's the vibe I got from this set.
Absolutely. It was very... yeah. It felt like they were trying to do a play thing.
Yeah, because we're just in this dark void with 2 people talking, and then suddenly a spotlight on a balcony above them in the background as Tina appears. And then as Tina comes down the stairs, the whole set lights up, so we can see the whole room now.
That was one of the few things that I actually liked.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a strange choice.
Yes, it was.
It was well done,
They
though.
never did anything like it again.
No, that's the only part in the whole episode where the set is treated like a play. And for the rest of the episode, it's just treated like a 4-camera sitcom.
Yep.
I probably would have enjoyed it more if they had stuck with the play thing, like really
Me
leaned
too.
into it. That would have been interesting.
It would have been a twist at least.
Casey goes to talk to Tina, who's upset about something, and Fred turns to us and tells us to enjoy the show. And then as the camera moves, it like swats him aside and he screams.
Enjoy the show.
It certainly looked like it was supposed to be hitting him in the face, but it also didn't look a thing like he was getting hit with the camera.
Well, no, he was clearly nowhere near the camera, but...
But he like grunts and jerks as though he's been struck.
Yes, I did like his little scream. It made me laugh. I like to hear Fred in pain.
He screams in pain.
Tina wants her boyfriend to come to the 10th anniversary dinner. And Casey tells her that he can't come because he wasn't written into the restaurant scene.
By this point, I was already so over their fourth wall breaks because they weren't clever.
And then Tina just accepts that.
Family takes priority over people like Jose, who I'm sure is a very nice person, but he wasn't written into the restaurant scene.
Oh, well, like, nobody told me.
It's okay.
Right, she's totally fine with it.
Yeah. Tina is played by Kathleen Robertson, who wasn't really known before this, but in 1994, the year after this show ended, she began starring in Beverly Hills 90210 as Claire Arnold, a role that she kept for 99 episodes.
For a hot second, I thought you were going to say 99 years.
She's still going. She'll never be free.
She is bound to the role so that even after she dies, she will be animated to do her job.
She cannot be freed until she has completed 99 years. And then only then will the shackles of 90210 magically release like Genie at the end of Aladdin.
Only then will all of the runes be lit and the seal will be broken.
And then Dr. Fred will rise. It's the curse of the mansion. But yeah, she was also in Bates Motel as Jodie Morgan. I didn't watch much of Bates Motel, but I saw some of it.
I watched it. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't either. Joe did. That's why I didn't
Joe
watch
has
all of it.
questionable taste.
Well, Joe will watch anything. This is what I've learned about my brother. He'll watch anything.
If you just put it on, he'll sit there and watch an entire season of it.
Mel, he watches every new Simpsons episode that comes out.
Ooh.
He goes on the internet and he watches them.
Why?
He doesn't even wait for them to go on Disney Plus. He seeks them
He's
out
that
when they're new.
desperate.
And he doesn't like them. But he watches them.
I think Joe needs help.
Anyway, back to Kathleen Robertson. She is also apparently about to star in a TV adaptation of the movie Swimming with Sharks. I don't know why, but she wrote and produced it herself, apparently.
Okay,
This
good for
is
her.
like a passion project for her.
So she's done something with herself after this horrible train wreck.
She sure has. I think she's probably done the most with herself out of all of them, actually.
Including Eugene Levy.
Oh, maybe. Well, Eugene Levy's not one of the cast. He doesn't count. This is where the baby man shows up.
I was confused.
Did he make you uncomfortable? He made me uncomfortable.
Extremely.
He feels offensive, but I don't know who to.
Yes. Yes. Because, I mean, at first you don't realize that he actually is a 4-year-old in the body of a grown man. So it feels offensive to people with special needs.
It sure does. Yeah, it was weird. I didn't like it.
Dad?
Yeah?
Dad? Dad?
Yeah?
Dad?
What?
Dad?
What?
I don't chew gum, huh?
No, next year.
I didn't care for it at all.
The guy playing him is selling it, I guess, but I don't think that's a good thing.
Like, his specific performance does not, to me, feel super offensive, but it's just kind of the whole idea of it.
Yes. This large man acting like a 4-year-old.
Yes.
It just feels wrong to do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put this in your show. Yeah. He's played by George Boozer. He is known mostly for playing Beast in the X-Men animated series.
I'm not just Mr. McCoy. You can call me Beast.
I didn't check into that. I'd like to see how close that performance is to this. I'm assuming not very.
One would hope.
And then Ike shows up, and he is too cool for this millennium.
I didn't understand him.
No.
Why is he this, like, cool leather jacket child?
Yeah, it's like all dressed in leather. I did check, and that's not a gimmick for this episode either. That's just who he is in the show.
Okay.
Because it sure felt like a gimmick for this episode.
Yeah, this whole episode raised a lot of questions.
Because he shows up all dressed in his leathers, and his mom tells him to go get changed, but his dad says there's no time for that, so he's just going to have to wear his regular outfit that he always wears in every episode, I guess. He's played by Avi Phillips, who is a child actor, and we all know how those go whenever I read credits for child actors.
Oh no.
It always turns out that they didn't do much after the thing we're currently looking at. But he's in the MCU.
Oh no, who is he?
He is a background lab student in The Incredible Hulk, uncredited.
Uncredited. Rude.
It looks like he mostly does behind the scenes work these days. He's got a lot of credits for stunts and sound department and stuff.
That's interesting.
So he stayed in the movie business. He's just not on camera anymore.
Hopefully that's a better fate than what happens to on-screen child actors.
Yeah, we don't want them. Like, what was the kid who played Tails is now a distributor for a supermarket or something? That's a fate worse than death.
I was talking about the more infamous ones you hear about, which is just drug overdoses. And
I know what you were
sex
talking
kids.
about. I was trying to lighten the mood.
Tough titties. This is not a light subject.
You're right. This is Maniac Mansion. Oh, and then the aunt and uncle characters come downstairs.
Is that what they were? I didn't understand the woman.
I had to look into it to understand the relationship they had to the family, but yes, Harry, the uncle who is now a fly, he is Casey's brother.
Okay.
So this is Fred's brother-in-law and his aunt. Harry is played by John Hemphill, who also co-wrote this episode. And he is yet another SCTV cast member. I couldn't find much. I don't think he's done much acting. I think he's mostly done writing.
He's mostly just a fly man.
But he's apparently been in Schitt's Creek as well.
Just get the gang back together again and put him in a different show, Eugene.
Yep, Eugene. I see you, Eugene. Giving jobs to all your friends. I'm on to you.
So that woman was his wife?
Yes, that's Idella, Harry's wife. She is played by...
It made her out to be the oldest person in the world.
Yeah, well, it's less about her physical age and more about her personality, I guess. Because she's very much a conservative, pearl-clutching, what's the word I'm looking for? Uptight?
Yeah.
And I guess it's in contrast to Harry, who we later see on the phone to his bookie
and with the body of a fly.
I think Harry was kind of a low morals character, and they paired him with this high morals character as a contrast.
That always works out well in marriage.
It sure does, doesn't it? Idella is played by Mary Charlotte Wilcox, who was yet another SCTV cast member. But this seems to be the most prominent role she's done since SCTV.
Oh no.
When this show ended, she quit acting and became a law secretary.
She's like, I'm done. This was bullshit.
Yep.
I'm going back to school.
And now she's a minister at an evangelist church in Alberta.
Oh no.
Yeah, so living the Idella life.
Maniac Mansion made her find God.
She got too into her character. So they're about to leave to go to the restaurant to celebrate the special. And Fred decides to rally the family before they leave with some kind of impression that involves pulling out his ears.
We're going to the Taiwan on. Then we're going to have fun. The key word tonight is fun. And nothing's going to stop us from having fun. You okay?
Was that an impression? I was extremely confused.
I'm fairly certain that was an impression, but I have no idea who of. Someone with big ears.
Ears that need to be pulled out.
That's the thing. The only thing that clued me in that it was supposed to be an impression of someone was him pulling his ears out like that. Because I'm like, okay, he's obviously doing an impression of someone with big ears, I guess. But I don't know who.
That he was just possessed by a meteorite.
Based on the impressions we get from him later, I'm assuming it's of someone who is just from so much of another era that we will never know who it was supposed to be.
I firmly believe that, yes. The references were already dated.
Extremely. I actually did research into the references so that I can talk about how dated they actually were. Because no matter how dated you think they are more dated than that, I promise you. But we'll get to that when it comes up. For this impression, I don't even have a guess. The only reason I knew who the other impressions were is because he introduces himself as those people.
Yes. I think one of them I recognized, and when he said who, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I knew
but
the
the
names.
third one I couldn't even understand.
I couldn't even. I don't have any notes on the third one because I couldn't even make out the name he said. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that when it happens. He opens the door to leave, and there's a guy just standing there.
Yeah, like mid-knock practically.
Yeah.
He's waiting to tell them that they have to stay home because they're spraying for men flies.
No, med flies.
Med flies?
It's med flies, yes.
I thought he said men flies, so I was like, that at least makes sense. It's stupid, but...
That would make more sense. because Harry is a man-fly.
Yes.
So that's... I see where you got there from. But no, he's spraying for med flies. I looked into this because I was confused by it. He says...
We're spraying the area for med flies.
And then Fred says...
Not med flies, we're just on the West Coast.
Uh-huh.
And the guy says, we're taking no chances. Him mentioning the West Coast like that made it seem like a very specific reference to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some digging, and I found out what the reference was.
Please tell us.
This is a joke about the 1989 California medfly attack. A bioterrorist attack that was made in retaliation for environmental damage caused by chemical insecticide spraying. Yes, this is a joke about a terrorist attack that was currently ongoing when this episode aired.
Oh, no.
The medflies devastated crops across California from July 1989 to November 1990.
Oh, wow.
This show aired in September 1990, so it was still going on.
But if it was in production for like 3 years...
Well, here's the, things change in the writing. They were probably still writing it right up until filming.
Probably still writing it as they were filming.
Yeah, probably. It's too specific a reference for it to not be about that, I think. Because California at the time was panicking, trying to get rid of all these medflies that were devastating the crops. And so that's what this... we're never told where this show takes place. It's clearly in the US, despite being filmed in Canada. But all we know is that it's not on the West Coast, which is weird, because I would have assumed it was California. But
I don't know. I feel like when you're talking about like creaky, dusty mansions, that tends to be East Coast.
You
like
think?
Northeast.
Okay. I don't know, it just feels very California to me. Especially, I looked a little bit at the second episode where there's some more outside of the mansion, and it looks very... You know, bearing in mind all of my experience of California is television, so...
I mean, that's close enough to the real thing.
They're staying in now, and what is it Adela says? She says something about Harry's Latin friends being the problem.
Our whole evening spoiled thanks to you and your fruit-eating Latin friends.
I was so confused because I didn't realize he'd said medfly.
Yeah, and then he calls it an immigration problem.
Ugh.
Yep.
That didn't age well.
There's a lot of things that didn't age well. I feel like this entire medfly joke had the potential to age really badly, except the medfly thing, nobody still remembers it.
Yeah.
Or at least I had to look it up to find out what they were talking about. So Harry suggests they watch home movies.
Well, I think we need to note that they deliberately call attention to the fact that they wrote a hole into the plot.
We seem to have a big gaping hole in the first act.
Yes, we do.
Which just makes this whole show not make sense.
Oh, you're right, yeah. They talk about how there's a hole in the plot, but presumably the guy spraying medflies was written into the plot. The setup of the show means that has to have been part of the script, and they should have known it.
It doesn't make sense. They try so hard to break the fourth wall, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I guess this whole setup of them watching home movies was there as an excuse to give us backstories for characters, but it also doesn't really do much of that.
No. It explains the child and the uncle, but it doesn't explain anything else.
And also, in a really dumb way that didn't even feel like it needed to be explained. But anyway, we'll get to it because it's right now. They sit down at the couch, and Adela is setting up a projector. And then Casey, out of nowhere, just bursts out laughing. And then they ask her what's so funny, and she says,
Well, I was just thinking back to the day that Turner and Uncle Harry had their accident.
Isn't it so funny to recall the misfortune of our family?
What a weird reaction to have. I was just laughing at that time that my youngest child got turned into a large man and is apparently stuck that way forever.
But I guess the show does at least call attention to that when they come out of the flashback and everyone's laughing.
It's not even funny. That's the weirdest thing.
I know.
We go into a flashback to when Turner was a regular baby and Harry was a human. And they're in the lab for some reason.
I don't know. Harry is babysitting for whatever reason down in the lab.
Yeah, why down in the lab? What a bad place to babysit. There's a whole mansion.
I guess so he could talk to his bookie in peace.
Maybe. Yeah, Adela comes in. She's standing up outside of the drained pool while he's sitting down in it. And she calls down, "That better not be your bookie," on the phone. And he seems to dislike his wife.
Well, that's kind of what sitcoms did back then.
I guess. Yeah. Fred and Casey seem to like each other, which is progressive, I guess.
That's true. Progressive. What an enlightened era when men actually liked their wives.
Yeah. It was groundbreaking. Neither of them are hitting each other with kitchen objects. There's no pots and pans flying.
There's no threats to punch her to the moon.
Turner's ball bounces down into the pool and then down through a hole. This is what I was talking about. There's a hole in the pool that goes down into like an excavated cave almost.
I was just very confused by that scene because the acrobatics that ball had to go through in order to set up the series of events.
Yeah, it bounces down some weird stairs and then it activates a machine at the bottom. Why is there a machine at the bottom? We'll never know. It's not in the episode.
We're not enlightened enough to understand.
Yeah, the Harry picks Turner up and takes him down into the hole to get the ball. Again, I'm kind of like, did you need to take him down there with you?
I mean, it was so intentionally set up.
Yeah.
They go down there and he steps all the way into this active machine with the child in his arms.
Before he steps in, he says he feels like he's in a Cronenberg movie, and then there's a pause, and then he says,
"He's a Canadian director."
And I don't know about you, but there were a lot of points in this show where I got the distinct impression that the actors were expecting there to be a laugh track. Because there are a lot of points where they pause for laughter that just doesn't come, and it's weird.
Do you think they just forgot to add it?
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if they did. I wonder if they filmed this with the intention that there would be a laugh track and then they just didn't put it in.
Because they didn't have enough referential jokes about it.
Yeah. They climb into the chamber to get the ball, and you hear a fly following them in. You don't see one, but he's like swatting at something and you can hear it buzzing. Turner mashes some buttons and the door closes on them. And as the door's closing, Harry looks up at it as it closes and he just goes, "Where did?" But he does it so fast I had to go back and watch it again to check if that's actually what he said.
I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah, it's very quick. And when the door opens, Turner is now a large man and Harry is a human head on a fly.
They did nothing to explain why specifically those changes.
That's the thing! That's two very different effects. From the same machine.
At the same time.
Yeah. It feels like these should have been two separate accidents that happened at different times.
That's what I was anticipating. Or I thought that maybe Turner took on the body of his uncle, but he didn't.
No.
Very strange.
It's very strange. It doesn't make any sense. I feel like this could have been, instead of the other flashback we get, which is really pointless, they could have had two different flashbacks, one for Turner's accident and one for Harry's accident. But also, I really feel like they didn't even need to explain these accidents.
No.
You can just say, oh, there was an accident and our son is an adult now. And that's enough. That's all we need to know. That's basically all this flashback shows.
Yeah, but they really wanted to hold our hands through understanding this very complex show.
They wanted to hold their own dicks.
They were doing that at the same time. Dick in one hand, other hand outstretched, beckoning you. And who would say no to that offer?
No, Eugene Levy. Put it away.
That's who I was imagining too.
Who else would it be? Oh. So the family finds this whole story hilarious for no reason.
Yeah, they're all laughing, except Turner is visibly distressed about it.
Yeah, and he runs away upstairs. But what was so funny? Because it's not like it ends on a funny moment. It ends with Harry looking at his fly legs and saying,
I'm in trouble.
and that's the funny part.
I guess so.
Also, I love that Casey's the one remembering this, and she is not present.
No, presumably she wasn't even there if Harry had to babysit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I believe he said that Fred and Casey were at a concert. I think he said Grateful Dead.
Yes, he did. They're deadheads.
Yeah, so they weren't there, but they remember this. So do the other kids.
And it's funny, let me tell you.
Casey insists that Fred should go and talk to Turner for some reason. It's really strange.
They really tried to force this, father-son, you need to talk to him because you're both men thing, but it didn't make a lot of sense.
No, I think Casey just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. But the daughter had offered to do it.
Yeah, that would have made more sense, I think.
But then we wouldn't get our great Bing Crosby impression.
Oh my god. Did you notice, by the way, every single shot of Harry as the Fly has such a huge amount of negative space above his head?
How could I not notice? 90% negative space.
And yeah, just his tiny head at the bottom of the screen.
And not even the whole fly body, just the fly neck.
Yeah, they've put him in this fly suit, and we only see it. We only see the suit in full in the opening, at the very end of the opening sequence. And the rest of the time, all you see is the shoulders.
There were a lot of strange decisions involved.
But even if they were only going to show him from the shoulders up, zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
What's with all the negative space? Maybe they wanted to reinforce that he's tiny. I don't know.
But they wouldn't need to because they showed scenes of him flying around fly size.
Yeah.
You don't need to reinforce it that much.
No. It was weird. And then Idella turns to us and announces the ad break.
The Maniac Mansion 10th anniversary special will return after these commercial messages.
That's right.
And it really took me aback. I know that that's a very American thing, being we'll return after these messages, but I'm never prepared for it, ever.
No, I feel like that's usually not part of the show. It's something added in post.
That's true. Usually it cuts away.
Yeah.
The Mario Brothers didn't turn and say it to us.
They weren't looking into our souls and telling us directly.
No, it cut to a photo of them and they announced that they'll be back after these messages over the photo.
Yeah.
I didn't like it being part of the scene. I didn't like that.
Me neither.
When we come back, Fred spends 20 minutes doing impressions at Turner's door.
It was unbearably long.
It was unbearably long, and they were weird impressions. These are not...
The Bing Crosby one, I understood. But Bing Crosby is a big American culture thing. Or at least was.
I feel like these are not impressions that a 4-year-old child in 1990 would have enjoyed.
Unless he watched those claymation Christmas
Is
movies.
Bing Crosby in those?
Yes.
Bing Crosby died in 1977.
Well, he lives on forever as Christmas.
He died 23 years before this impression was filmed. That's when he died. Like, it's not when he was famous. It's when he died.
Yeah.
Gregory Peck. He wasn't dead yet, but he was in his 80s.
And when was the last time he'd done anything notable?
I don't even know who he is. I recognized the voice, but...
I'm gonna check. I think I know one prominent role.
Okay. I think I looked him up, and I've just forgotten. When I first saw the name Gregory Peck, I kept thinking of Walter Peck, the environmental safety inspector from Ghostbusters.
Well, he was in The Omen.
Oh, do you think
he was
Turner...
in Old Gringo.
I don't know what that is.
Neither do I. I just like the name.
Oh, he was in Cape Fear, both versions.
Okay, it turns out he was... I don't really know what he was... Oh, no, I was right. He was in To Kill a Mockingbird. He was Atticus Finch.
Oh, okay.
That's the one thing that I know him from.
Says here that he was also regarded as a political opponent by Richard Nixon. So
I just like to think that was one-sided.
Yeah, he was just an actor and Richard Nixon just decided they were enemies.
He was watching To Kill a Mockingbird and he's like, I don't like that man.
Or isn't Nixon the one who had the list? He made a list of his enemies?
I don't know.
I think it was. Yeah, Richard Nixon enemy list. Nixon's enemies list. It has a Wikipedia article.
I can't believe the world we live in sometimes.
What was his name? Gregory Peck?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's not on the list. He didn't make the list.
Yeah. He's a political opponent, but not an enemy.
Paul Newman's on the list. Okay, alright. Oh, Paul Newman. Did he not like your performance in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that he watched all of this media and people that he didn't like, he's just putting them on a list.
Put him on the list. Aru. I mostly know Nixon from Futurama. So.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
I'm not American enough to know him from anything else.
Tell me where you know Richard Nixon from without telling me where you know Richard Nixon from.
Aru. That's how you know.
Yep.
I couldn't even understand who the third impression was.
No, me neither.
It was very slurred. He says the name, I just couldn't catch it.
Turner, it's Broderick Crawford. Come on, open that door, get you on 714, open it up, I'll break it down, 714.
No.
I thought about going back and trying to catch it, but I was like, no, it's not worth it.
No.
It's not worth the 10 seconds I would waste.
Nope. So Turner finally opens the door and says he doesn't like being laughed at.
Which is a valid concern, since his entire family was just laughing at the fact that he had an unfortunate accident.
Yeah, this scene is so long.
All of the scenes with the dad and Turner were unnecessary and long.
Yeah, it doesn't even sound like they had a script for this. Because it really sounds like Fred is ad-libbing.
Which is why he says absolutely nothing.
Yeah, for a long time. It's just rambling.
Listen to Daddy, all right? Now, we were laughing, and we were laughing all right. I'll give you that. We were laughing because we thought it was funny. Not that it was funny, because it wasn't. And certainly not because you were funny, and we weren't as well opposed to the reverse, which would make it an insult. And then, well, I wouldn't be here talking to you because, well, You understand?
Kind of.
The delivery of it was kind of funny because it did sound like rambling, but I think it sounded like rambling because that's what it was.
Because he went around in circles for like 5 minutes before kind of stammering out something Turner could understand.
Yeah. Yeah, he says he kinda understood.
That's right.
Meanwhile, downstairs, there's more jokes about terrorist attacks happening.
Is that what it was referencing?
Yes. Idella is showing the family a home movie. It's just her and her aunts, I think she says, that raised her.
Yeah.
And they're on a grassy knoll trying to pose for a photo. Meanwhile, in the background, the Kennedy assassination is taking place.
I did not realize that's what that was.
I had to double check because she specifically says they're in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
The thing that clued me in was her saying it was a grassy knoll, because that's the thing I know about the Kennedy assassination, is that there was a grassy knoll involved.
That's a weird detail for you to know.
Well, it's because they always...
pick up on.
It's the thing they always reference.
I can't say I'm very well versed in Kennedy assassination lore.
Yeah, there's like this whole theory that the shooter was on the grassy knoll or something. I know it from Simpsons.
And if we freeze on frame 138, we distinctly see a puff of blue hair coming from the grassy knoll.
That explains it.
In the video, you can see, I think you see some men. It looks like they're bagging up a weapon and running, but it's really hard to tell what's going on because it's so blurry.
I had no idea what was going on. Like, there's really no way to pick up on the fact that that's the Kennedy assassination.
No, I had to watch it a couple times.
Watch The Simpsons.
The thing that makes it clear that something's going on is that as she's watching it, the camera does like a dramatic zoom on Casey's shocked face, and then she's like
in the background of the thing itself, you see all of the people in the background kind of drop, but you don't understand why.
Yes, absolutely. I needed a lot of extra context. I had to go away and do research to figure out that this was a Kennedy assassination joke. And
I had to do research to understand the joke in this show.
But also, like, I don't even understand what's being said here.
It's
is the video bad?
To be shocking for no reason.
Yeah, like, she's like...
And you say no one has ever seen this footage?
Not to my knowledge. Why?
No reason.
And I don't get it.
No.
Even knowing that that's supposed to be the Kennedy assassination, I don't understand what is being said here.
Why is it included in episode 1 of Maniac Mansion?
It's very strange.
I'm still left with a bitter taste in my mouth.
Yeah, I don't know what they were getting at.
Anyway, then it just gets worse when the mom decides to tell a story about the kid's grandparents.
Oh yeah, I really did not like that whole the flashback is starting too early joke.
It was dumb.
Yeah, it was not great.
Like the wobbly dream filter starts appearing and the mom addresses the camera saying that she hasn't finished the setup.
I remember that night like it was yesterday. Hold it, I'm not finished the setup.
Even though she basically had, she doesn't add anything of value.
No.
And then she gets mad at them for not starting it when they were supposed to.
I don't think I've ever seen him as nervous as he was that night. Now.
It's so meta.
And here we get the longest, most pointless scene in the episode, in my opinion.
Which is a real achievement, because there have been a lot.
Yeah. It's between this and Fred trying to cheer Turner up. They're kind of both equally awful.
I would say that while the grandparent scene is longer and more pointless, it at least had a couple funny moments.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't say that for the Turner scene, huh?
No.
having a meal. I guess it's in Casey's house. This is a flashback to when they're quite young, before they were married. Fred looks completely different. I did not recognize the character.
Yeah, they've got him with some real poofy 70s hair.
Yeah.
Sideburns and a mustache.
Yeah, it looks like a different person. They're having dinner with his parents, who are super conservative, snobby, rich people, I guess. I guess that makes sense. That explains why they have this mansion.
It also explains some of the jokes later, which I actually thought were funny.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me which ones.
Not like guffawing funny, but I was like, all right.
Right.
Maniac Mansion, I'll give you this one chuckle.
So she offers them, because they're complaining because they're having white wine with pork, I think. She offers them water, and his mom says,
"If you can't afford it, dear."
I did laugh at that. That's some good shade.
And then his dad starts talking about how he
had to get a Heimlich from some young Oriental chap.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that wasn't cute.
No. And then when it's mentioned that Casey studied English Lit, he says,
I understand most of you people are leftists.
Yeah. And then the grandma says,
"Which one of the communist authors do you like best, dear?"
And that's when I laughed.
And then she recites an excerpt from Molly Bloom's closing soliloquy from James Joyce's Ulysses.
And it was very suggestive.
Yeah. So the last chapter of Ulysses, which this comes from, is a stream of consciousness chapter that's just interrupted constantly by random thoughts and occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
She reads a pretty decent chunk of it here. It goes on for a while.
It sure does. It goes on a lot longer than I was comfortable with.
Yeah, everyone at the table gets all hot and bothered about it.
Yes. So he could feel my breast of perfume. And yes, his heart was going like mad. Yes, I said yes. I will. I said yes, I will.
And then Fred's dad turns to his wife and tells her to learn it. He like barks it like an order.
Learn it.
Yeah.
And I dislike this man greatly.
Yes, he is not a likable character.
I guess he's not supposed to be, but I wonder if he ever showed up again in the show. Or if this was it.
I wonder if the grandma ever learned that passage.
I wonder.
But then when that scene ends, we just go back to Dad talking to Turner.
Yeah, and I didn't even make any notes about. Oh, the only note I have about that scene is that no progress is made.
Yes.
And then it just goes back downstairs to where the film projector suddenly explodes.
And I guess the clip show's over now.
I guess it is. And then
even though they never actually really watched any clips.
No.
It was all flashbacks.
Well, the only clip they watched was the Kennedy assassination thing. Which I don't understand why was there.
No.
So Casey wakes Fred up, which is where I figured out that this whole episode... Oh, no, wait. I missed the part. Where Fred addresses the audience.
Yep.
Which there suddenly is now. We've
always been there, Mike.
This is another thing. This is another thing that convinces me that there was at some point supposed to be a laugh track in this episode. Because the audience suddenly is here now and cheers, but this is the one time in the whole episode.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he says, and I didn't make any notes about it.
He just thanks everyone, like all of the characters and the cast and audience.
That's right. And then Casey wakes him up back in real life.
I had, by this point, forgotten that this was a dream.
I think this was where I realized for the first time. I don't think I even forgot. I just didn't take it in yet.
I forgot that it started with him sleeping because I was so aghast by this whole debacle.
I was still reeling from the opening sequence at that point, honestly.
Only now was I beginning to recover from listening to that Maniac Mansion song.
He tells her that he dreamed they were on a sitcom and it was their 10th anniversary. And she says,
Let's just get through the first year before we start looking ahead another 10.
and then he's like, first year, what? And then the episode ends.
Honestly, if that was the only time they broke the fourth wall, it would have been fine. But they had done it at least 700 times before then.
Yeah. And it just left me wondering, like, is this what the show is like or not? Is the show a meta fourth wall breaking comedy? Or was that just a dream?
Right. I had the same question, and I'm not interested enough to find out.
If this was a one-off gimmick for this episode, why make it the first episode? Don't you want the first episode to show people what your show is going to be like normally?
You want it to be at least a little bit more representative of what they're in for.
Yes. You don't want the audience to be ending the first episode having no idea what your show is.
Being lost and confused.
Yeah, this should have been like episode 3 at best.
At least.
I actually did look at the second episode to answer these questions for us.
Oh no, what did you learn?
It's a different house.
Why?
The pool basement lab is still there. But that living room we saw doesn't exist.
So he just dreamed he had a better house?
He dreamed a set. They were on a set.
I guess that makes sense.
In the rest of the show, it's an actual house.
It's just that meaning, the distinguishing, it doesn't matter.
I only watched the first half of episode 2, but there's none of the meta humor.
Okay.
The characters are introduced properly and explained better.
Then what did they do to their first episode?
I don't know. The second episode explains that Fred is working on trying to reverse Turner and Harry's accident, which this first episode did not make clear in any fashion.
No.
It's still not good, but it's a lot better than this episode was. Which really makes me wonder why this was the first episode. The second episode was a better first episode, in my opinion.
It sounds like it.
It made more sense.
From every perspective.
If that was the first episode, I would have had so many fewer questions about the choices made here.
Yes. So many fewer questions about my choices in life that led me to this point.
Are you ready for me to upset you once again?
No, get it over with.
This show had positive reviews from critics at the time.
Why?
Time magazine called it the looniest, sweetest family comedy of the year.
Oh my god.
Entertainment Weekly called it 100 proof hilarious.
100 proof.
These are not small publications. These are not some like backwoods weird review websites that liked it. This is Time Magazine and Entertainment Weekly. The Los Angeles Times said it was a stylized, sharp-edged comedy that's a bit like David Lynch on helium. David Lynch...
Maybe they're talking about like the extended episodes.
Maybe
it got better.
Maybe it did. David Lynch, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know who David Lynch is, he is the guy who did Eraserhead and Twin Peaks and stuff like that.
All that weird shit.
Yeah, I like Twin Peaks. It's a good show.
I never watched it.
Oh, you'd like it.
Everybody talks about it all the time, but I'm like, that's a big time commitment.
It is, but you know how I know that you'd like it?
Because it's Alan Wake.
It's Alan Wake. The TV show, yes. And you liked Alan Wake.
I did like Alan Wake.
We've reached the point of the show where I discuss the legacy.
What damage has this done to our world?
Well, would it surprise you to learn that this show became canon in Day of the Tentacle?
Yes, it would.
The sequel to Maniac Mansion canonizes the existence of this TV show as a TV show.
Okay.
Within the universe of Maniac Mansion.
That makes a lot more sense.
Within the story of Day of the Tentacle 2, there's a minor plot point that involves Fred. So the Edisons in Day of the Tentacle have fallen on hard times. They've had to turn the mansion into a motel.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason they're on hard times is because Fred sold the rights to various companies for video games and TV shows to be made and never received any royalties.
Now that's funny.
So a plot point in Day of the Tentacle is you trying to help Dr. Fred receive the royalties that he never got for this show being made. And that's pretty funny.
Yes.
But another effect that this show had on the long-running legacy of the Maniac Mansion series is that apparently, in development, the Edison family were called the Schwartz family.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the TV show's writers that asked to have them changed to the Edison family.
Okay.
A change that was made in the game.
Interesting.
And that's how I know that this show was already in production before the game was finished, because they changed the family's name to Edison based on the TV show writers wanting that.
That's wild.
It is wild. The wildest thing about it being that this show took 3 years to make. I can't understand.
No.
I guess we're done.
Thank God.
This might be our shortest episode.
There was nothing to talk about.
No.
This was a confusing and disorienting affair.
It sure was. Maybe sometime we'll come back and look at a normal episode that's not a weird meta stage play version.
Yeah.
Yeah, that says it all. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
We're sorry that you also had to endure the live-action adaptation of Maniac Mansion with us.
Yeah, but we appreciate you being here for 10 whole episodes of this mess.
Welcome to our 10th anniversary special.
We're very lucky. I don't remember the next line.
No one does. It doesn't matter.
Something about charisma that appeals to the masses.
Charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
Yeah, we don't have those.
No.
Well, we got nerve.
You got a lot of nerve.
Oh, I hope I don't get copyright claimed for the Maniac Mansion theme song.
They're coming for you. Don't you dare use that without their permission.
I think this show is lost media.
One can only dream.
It got... I think I read that it had a VHS release of 2 episodes. And that's
Was it the first episode twice?
Due to an error. In 1992, Family Channel Video released a VHS tape entitled Maniac Mansion: The Love Collection, featuring 2 first-season episodes of the series, Flystruck and Fred's a Courtin'. That's episodes 2 and 5.
Okay.
That's it. That's the entire English language home video release. However, in Japan...
Oh no, Japan, why?
There was a VHS tape that contained 4 episodes from the first season. This episode that we watched, episode 10, episode 14, and episode 22.
What a weird collection.
Yeah. There's no DVD release. It's not available to stream anywhere. It's lost media.
What I don't understand is why anyone would choose to preserve this episode, because it's clearly not representative of the series.
Well, I'm glad they did. Otherwise, we couldn't have watched it.
We could have watched a episode.
Well, we had to
the
watch
first
the
one
first
we got our
one.
hands on.
We had to watch the first episode. It was important for the format of this show.
They don't need to know that.
I think they can probably figure it out.
Nobody's gonna be looking up the Maniac Mansion live-action TV show after this. We could have gotten away with anything.
That's
we
true.
could have made our own.
Well, what if Eugene Levy watches this?
I imagine he's gonna put us on his enemies list.
What if Eugene Levy is like, oh, I better check what they said about me?
It's time for my daily Google search of reviews of the live-action adaptation of Maniac Mansion.
Yeah, what if he's still... Oh my god. Martin Short apparently is in an episode of this.
Okay.
So's Eugene Levy. He appears in an episode at some point.
I'm not surprised.
Oh, Martin Short also wrote like 5 episodes of this show.
Weird.
10 episodes!
They just keep coming!
Oh no, wait, this is Michael Short. That's not Martin Short. But Martin Short was in it.
Okay.
Now, is Michael Short a real person, or is that a pseudonym for Martin
I don't know.
Short?
You're a Michael. Don't you guys all communicate telepathically?
No, but sometimes I get added to Facebook DM conversations where every Mike Maynard on Facebook has been added and they want to chat. And I'm like, no, we share a name, nothing else.
That doesn't mean we're friends.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's weird. Is that something that happens to everyone, or is that just me?
Just Mike Maynard.
Just Mike Maynard. So I guess it would be in that case, yeah. I wasn't asking if everybody gets added to a Mike Maynard group.
Oh yeah, I was in the Mike Maynard group. I was very confused by it.
I just sort of add like 10 random people to a group thing and be like, I've added us all to this group because we all have the same name, and we don't.
But you could lead those people on a lifelong journey trying to discover the meaning.
Oh, I should just send them coordinates. Just random coordinates. See what happens.
That app? Randonautica or something? It would just send random coordinates that you were supposed to go to.
If I did that, if I just put some coordinates somewhere and then like said nothing about it, I wonder if people would actually like track it down and search and be like, these are the coordinates he gave. There must be something here. People will spend years like digging in the area.
I am absolutely certain that there would be at least one person on the planet that would go there. You might have to increase your sample size.
Maybe I'll do it someday. If I ever get famous. If I ever get famous, when I'm an old man, I'll just put some random coordinates. I'll just post them on Twitter. And then anybody who asks me what they meant, I'll never answer. And then I'll die and people will go crazy trying to figure out what it meant. Trying to solve my last mystery.
And the mystery is that
they're an idiot.
Woo!
I'm sorry, I've got the Maniac Mansion Wikipedia page open and I just found that in 1993 they won a Cable Ace Award for Best Original Song for a song entitled Baby Rap. In the episode Baby Heat.
Okay.
Just thought I'd bring it up.
Thank you.
That episode was written by Deborah Devine.
Thanks, Deborah. It was divine.
Well, won an award, so... Oh, we should probably do an actual goodbye.
Oh yeah, we haven't begged for money yet.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a Maniac Mansion of a time.
Good one.
Thanks for 10 episodes. Well, I guess I made them with Mel, so thank me.
Thanks to us.
Yeah, thanks to us for you listening. No. If you're interested in giving us money, you can do that at patreon.com, where you can also listen to some outtakes from the show that didn't make the final cut. And if we get enough patrons to be worth it, we'll maybe do some exclusive short episodes about things that are too short to be a real episode. Like, for example, Pokemon Origins or some shit. I don't know.
You just really want to watch Pokemon Origins because you mention that all the time.
It's the first thing that comes. All right, what else? I don't know. The Team Fortress shorts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Let's watch. What was it called? The bread one?
That's the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
It's been like 6 years since I watched that.
Welcome to Breadman, it's called. It's not.
You could have fooled me.
What else is short?
There was a Twinbee thing, right, that we were talking about?
Oh yeah, the 10-minute Twinbee something beach stories.
A beach episode?
It's a beach episode, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That could be an exclusive Patreon thing if there's enough of you out there that want to hear it.
If you want to whet our whistle, so to speak.
Yeah.
What about your other socials?
There's all kinds of socials. But first of all, I want to say, if you don't have the money to give to this garbage, then, just listening to us and telling your friends and enemies about us is great. And we appreciate all of you.
Spreading the gospel as though you were Jehovah's Witnesses.
I've been looking at the numbers, and we are apparently very popular in Canada and the Netherlands. And I'm pretty sure our popularity in Canada is entirely down to one person. Thank you, Danny. But the Netherlands I can't account for because there's 4 people in the Netherlands and I only know 2 of them. But thank you all. I appreciate it very much. And so does Mel.
I do too. I appreciate it in a tsundere way.
Yeah, that's the way you appreciate everything.
You can't let them know that secret yet. They have to complete my friendship quest.
Yeah, I've known you long enough to know that you love by hating, so.
And hate by loving.
If you didn't like listening to this in the place that you listened to it, you can listen to it all over the dang place. There's YouTube, there's Spotify, there's iTunes, there's Google Podcasts.
That's it.
And if you want to say words at our faces, probably the best place to do that is in a YouTube comment. But also, you could go ahead and send a message direct to my face at Twitter, where the Twitter address is sbreakfastfc.
The greatest Twitter handle ever penned.
The whole name wouldn't fit, okay? I tried it. You can only have a really short name on Twitter. Twitter, give me a good one.
What if it was Super Breck Friend Club?
That's too long.
Damn it.
I could probably get Super Breck FC. And then it still sounds like a football club. Bye!
Bye! You're free.
You're free.
Free of the curse.
You've been rescued. You've been rescued from the mansion by... We're 2 of the 3 children. Dave didn't make it. He showed Weird Ed his dead hamster.
We told him not to, but you can only say so much.